Hello and welcome back to another very special episode of Star-Crossed. I'm your host, Meghan Rose, astrologer, writer, and I am being joined by quite literally one of my favorite modern day astrologers, and I would be hard-pressed if you did not know who she was. If you have TikTok, you like astrology, or maybe a fan of Taylor Swift, Lauren Ash.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about our favorite thing, astrology.
Girl, it has been brewing in the back of my mind for months to do an episode on not only notably compatible sign pairings, but also the unconventional signs that always kind of get thrown to the dust and brushed off when I have seen time and time again these pairings work better than some of the most quintessentially compatible sign pairings. So I thought nobody better to bring on than Lauren. You know all of the ins and outs. I feel like you are an incredible pattern recognizer, and I would love for you to tell anybody who is maybe not familiar with you or your work about yourself and your approach to astrology.
Yeah, so I'm a self-taught astrologer, and I've been a content creator with horoscopes and astrology for 5 years now on TikTok. I've written across a bunch of platforms, and I myself am part of an unconventional romantic astrology pairing. And so, you know, you see your sign on the unconventional or incompatible list enough, you start thinking, well, there are reasons we work together. Otherwise, we wouldn't be together. So we're hoping to highlight some of those more positive aspects of the unconventional signs today. And I'm personally invested in it, so.
I love it. Lauren and her partner are a great example of one of my favorite technically incompatible pairings, which is Cancer. Lauren's sign and her partner's sign is Aquarius. Do you mind talking to me more about how you find the two of you working from firsthand experience, just so we can get into the guts and the good stuff of the seemingly compatible pairing?
Definitely. I think that people think that Aquarius and Cancer don't work together because they categorize Aquarius as cold or aloof or detached, and Cancer as very dramatic and emotional and unhinged, which both can be true. But I think what is ignored is Cancer's cardinal energy and the leadership quality and the bossiness and the ability to say, we're driving this thing. And that's kind of what you need to build a life with someone. And then you've got Aquarius's visionary, forward-thinking focus. We're planning for the future. And so, you know, on the sun sign surface, they might not seem that compatible. But if you get two people who are going the same direction, you've got the visionary, and then you've got the person who can support and make it happen. And I think it's a dream team as someone who's been there. So
totally. And even the attribute of Aquarius being the observer, or someone who is so capable of seeing outside of the box, and then you talking about Cancer being extremely emotional or dramatic in some instances. And I just see that as a setup for success. Like, why else would we love reality television if not for that exact dynamic?
Exactly. And it's also like sometimes you need someone to say, girl, are you crashing out? I mean, logically, yes. Is there a reason we're worked up? You know, sometimes you need someone to pull you back with that logic. So I think if both signs can get over their egos a little bit, then it can really work out well.
Yes. And as a newfound lover of the Vanderpump Rules saga, it's all Cancers and Aquarius.
The whole cast. It's why it's the best reality show of all time. And the men, too, have a lot of water energy. So it's just candid, let's say.
No, it's incredible. And so I would also beg to say that my parents were another one of those compatible pairings that I wanted to bring up. So my mom is a Taurus and my dad is a Sagittarius. And by all of these old-timey descriptions of that pairing, it's like the Sagittarius is going to get bored of the Taurus. And I grew up watching my mother in her lavish, indulgent lifestyle, so happy to be at home in her pajamas while my dad was running amok. He's a laborious worker, like constantly working out the centaur calves and like picking things up and putting them down and like flirting with the bank teller, flirting with the waitress, flirting with whoever he was walking by, and then comes home and my mom could not be less bothered about it. So I'm like, have you ever seen the instance of Taurus and Sag working? I feel like it's so good.
Yes. The carefree nature of Sagittarius allows Taurus to really be themselves and not, because Taurus isn't going to change what they're not going to change.
Absolutely.
But also, you know, they're reliable, they're loyal, they're dependent, a little shameless flirtation. But yeah, it's like that understanding and that like fun, adventurous vibe of Sagittarius. Like it can be a little live and let live, and then you focus on the important stuff. And it's so fun that the whole fabulous like stay at home lounge. It's such a great little. You need it. I always say you need like a saver and a spender. In a relationship, I feel the same way. You need like the workaholic and you need the person who's like, let's take a vacation. Like you need a little bit of both, I think.
Girl, you could not have described what I was raised seeing any more perfectly. Like my mom's best friend is her credit card. And my dad could not have a worse enemy than my mother with her credit card. So I absolutely love that. You hit the nail on the head. Is there another unconventional pairing that you just love and adore to see?
I really, really like Scorpio with Sagittarius because I think like it's just the right amount of push each other's buttons. And I think that Scorpio, we always like, I feel like every astrologer talks about like the fieriness of the water Scorpio. So I feel like that mutable fire Sagittarius, it can move with them and tease something out of them without feeling antagonistic the way that like maybe Leo or Aries might, you know?
I could not agree with you more. I think that Scorpio people need the reprieve of humor and lightheartedness. And I don't think that there is another sign that pushes their buttons in the right way, kind of like what you were saying, like gets under that surface level nature of being untrusting or paranoid or just having that Martian influence of anger and getting the stinger out than Sagittarius, who's just happy to like hang off of it and go for a joyride. It's such a powerful pairing, and also goes to show too, because I think signs that are directly next to one another often get a bad rap about whether or not they work out. But I'm a huge fan of the study of chronological nature in the Zodiac and showing how the next sign will almost do a pendulum swing from the sign that came before it.
They cascade into each other, and it's like get to know your neighbor. Like you're so close to each other.
Yes.
There's got to be something you've got in common.
Absolutely. And for all of my avid readers, such a good trope, right? Like the neighbors that fall in love with one another, and there's that little bit of like quirky aggression, the tension. I live for it. Speaking of Scorpio, I feel like a sign pairing that I see often getting just totally thrown to the bottom of the barrel is Scorpio and Gemini.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Because I'm kind of a fan.
So I love it the same reason I love Sagittarius and Scorpio. I feel like there's the ability to see the truth of what Scorpio really is, which is kind of what scares them a little, but it's the intelligence and the humor of knowing how to joke about it without offending or scaring off. It's kind of like I see you, I know you, and I think it intrigues the Scorpio. And, I think also, I don't want to categorize like, oh, Scorpios are introverts, but there is a very extroverted nature to Gemini that I think, again, pulls out that observer, that thinker in Scorpio. Like, I don't even think Scorpio has to do much talking. Just having someone else who sees and observes and has an opinion, I think it's fast friends. And then if you spend enough time, it's like friends to lovers pretty quick after that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't forget about some of the conventionally positive sign pairings either. And I think you and I have had this conversation before, but I would love to touch on it again. But Taurus and Cancer.
Yes, so good. So sexy. So like luxurious. You never see a couple and they just like, you're like, you look good together. You look expensive. Like, I bet your kitchen just has all the best snacks in it. Like, adopt me, mom and dad. It's very that.
Oh, completely. These are the people that have like the extra wide drawers with all of their spices perfectly labeled in the matching jars.
Yes.
And they know which ones go well. They know to throw a little cumin on the beans while they're cooking. Like, they have such an incredible way of pulling out not only all 5 of the senses, like Cancer having this really intuitive way of tapping into why Taurus is such a sensual sign and energy, but I feel like the Taurus brings out this nature of, you can say the bad thing. You can do the bad thing. Like, I like it.
Enjoy yourself.
Yes.
Like, they know how to make the mundane and the routine of life and love, like, special and sensual. They have a vacation spot they go to every year. Yeah. They go to the same restaurant. They get the same table on their anniversary. Like, these are things to celebrate and enjoy. And I think that they really get it.
Absolutely. And it's the knowing between the two of them that there is so much to enjoy and experience in the present moment with one another that makes it almost like both of them can let go of thinking that they have to keep up with the Joneses or do excessive things just because everybody else is taking the trip to a certain place or wearing a certain brand. It's like these two together are the ones gifting each other heirloom pieces. And like you were saying,
you actually enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Any other traditionally compatible pairings that you just absolutely love and adore to see?
I love a Leo Libra. I love 2 hot little party girls. I love 2 little socialites. Like, I love a confident, cocky couple. Like, yes. I like a couple that they walk in and you're like, oh, damn, okay, party's here. So I think just the natural connector of Libra, the ability to make friends wherever they go, to know how to read the room and be part of it. And then Leo's ability to draw attention. I think it's going to be a fun relationship where you have a lot of social life, you have a lot you're doing, you're enjoying it. You've got your thing, they've got their thing, and you can come together. So I think it's great for the Leo and the Libra who want love but want to be independent. You want a partner who feels it with you. When you come together, you're just better, but you've also got your own social life. It's kind of like the perfect mix.
Absolutely. And it's such a good point to make too, because Libra always gets put into that basket of they're the natural ruler of the 7th house, or they really love partnership, or they need other people's time and attention in order to feel good about themselves. Yes, Leo is an incredible hype person for that Libra, but Libra also loves to be adored and watched and flirted with when they go out with their friends. They don't always want to be under watch. So I really do agree with you. And if we haven't made this abundantly clear, that is my mistake. But this is not only sun signs. I feel like when you see any of these pairings between someone's personal placements, their big 6, and somebody else's personal placements, it's like you get that match. You get that zhuzh coming out of these energies pairing together.
Definitely.
Speaking of Libra, very conventional. I feel like it's always topping the list of traditionally compatible energies, but I just love to see it, is Libra and Gemini.
Yes, I feel like you want that playful flirtation. No one will keep you on your toes like a Gemini. And so the Libra doesn't get bored. It's like Libra knows they're beautiful. They know they're talented. They know these things. they're Venus ruled. And so it's like, you got to get creative with how you charm them. And I feel like Gemini just has it.
Absolutely. And Gemini, as that extremely dualistic, mutable air energy, Libra to me, when I see them, it's the only sign in the zodiac that's symbolism is an inanimate object. So it's almost like a child playing with a toy. Like you can create any reality off of this Barbie doll that you want to see out of it. And one day, you know, Barbie's with Ken, and then the next week, Barbie's with Daisy. And like they're in the car one day, they're in the playhouse one day. It's so easy for these two, I feel like, to be the artist and the muse.
Yes. And I think it's very much when you really feel inspired by somebody you love, you can just create a beautiful life for the pair of you. It's like the sky's the limit with what you can imagine because you're so inspired by each other.
Totally. And I feel like we have negated a little bit, but there is a real reality within the zodiac where opposites attract.
Absolutely.
Going off of this.
Lovers.
Enemies to lovers, baby. Like I'm living for it. I feel like with so much Scorpio energy in my chart, I'm just like, we have to play fight sometimes, you know, like life is boring if you don't have the ability to explore all aspects of yourself. And I feel like opposite sign pairings have this really potent ability because they sit on the same axis, but 180 from one another to see the same thing in different ways. Do you have any opposite sign pairings that you love more than the others?
I have so many opinions about this. And I agree with you because I think the fact that they share a modality means like you're moving in the same direction. And I feel when it comes to relationship zodiac stuff, if you're moving in the same direction or one person wants to follow, like that's more important than surface level water, fire, you know, that sort of thing. I think Taurus and Scorpio all know they're supposed to end up together and they resist it. And I think they all tell each other, like, I'm going to date around, I'm going to have my fun, and then I'll settle down with the other. I think Cancer and Capricorn are just like the classic mom and dad. Make it happen. I think that makes too much sense. Like, it's like, of course. Pisces Virgo is kind of the tricky one, I think. I think the mutable energy, who takes the lead there? I like their energy together as friends, but with relationships, I'm like, I think that's my tricky one, but I still like them together.
Absolutely. As a Virgo sun, I have gotten involved with Pisces suns, maybe like somebody's actual sun, but Pisces suns twice. And I said, never again. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Lauren, where I'm like, I view long-term relationships that work well together as a game of musical chairs. And as long as somebody knows which seat they're sitting in, nobody's falling on their ass on the floor. But it's Virgo and Pisces, you would think because Virgo is mutable that there's some level of adaptability that has been bestowed upon us. I can very much tell you that the earth element of that loves to fight with the fact that we are chameleons. We do well at it, but we don't like to do it. And there is a part of Pisces energy that can sometimes be so empathic and understanding that they don't want to push other people beyond what they like or enjoy or they know they're going to do well at. And it can almost feel like if you had just encouraged me a little bit more, I would have done it. And the Pisces sitting there and being like, but I never wanted to push you somewhere that you didn't want to go.
Or it's Virgo saying like, I want it this way, I'll do it. And then and Pisces saying, great. And then Virgo saying, well, not all of it. I mean, like the thing I'm very particular about. And so I do think those two can work together if there's more structural support with some of the other places. Mars, like definitely. I always think those two are like the ones that got away for each other, though. It's like in another lifetime, maybe we could have made it work.
Girl, fully. And it is so wild to me too. Like anytime that I'm in the height of my dating era, it's always the Pisces people who are just like love at first sight towards Virgo energy. But to keep it going, there's a lot of passivity, I think, that can happen on both sides. Virgo being more passive aggressive, Pisces being more hands off, just fully passive.
And Pisces is so like, because they're like all experiences are good experiences. If it doesn't work out, it's not harmful. It's a learning experience. Yes. It's almost like they're like, okay, well, it didn't work out with us. And then it's like, fight for me, damn it. Maybe that's my Leo Venus that I'm like, show me you care. Like,
I have no Leo in my chart, and I will tell you straight up that is full stop. The situations that I have had with anyone with prominent Pisces.
Yeah.
Like, fight for me. Like, our control as the Virgos comes out in the way that we want the story to go. And I believe it's like a missed connection dynamic between these two a lot of the times. Not all of the time, but a lot of the time.
Do you have any other missed connection signs that you feel are kind of like star-crossed, that are kind of in that middle zone?
Well, I mean, you know that I love star-crossed. I would say, even we're talking about opposites, but I would even say that Libra and Aries can often have this too. Like, Aries feeling so fired up and excited about the idea of conquering this prize of the Libra person. But I see a lot of the times when there's couples who are coming to me and they're really hell-bent on the twin flame thing, that there's usually this opposition playing some part between the two charts. I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel like that has been the pattern that I've seen over and over again with these two.
Definitely. And I almost feel like it's the opposite problem of Virgo Pisces, where it's like the chemistry, the passion, the carnal attraction, like the fire between these two is like unstoppable, but they can't get going at the same speed. And so one gets impatient or one feels like it's taking too long. And it just is like, but then they keep coming back to each other because they have the opposite problem where they're like, no, damn it, I'm not giving up on us. And so it just, and I do think because there's more action behind those two, the cardinal energy, they can figure it out. But there's also like, it's the speed of how you take things and then the patience of having to build your life with another person.
Yes, and I don't mean to put Libra in this box of being like the prize, the muse, the inanimate object, the Barbie doll, the passive one, because Libra is, like you were saying, Lauren, a cardinal energy, and it's cardinal air at that. So I feel like the way that they think 10 steps ahead and they can communicate about who and what they desire. When it's matched up with Aries, it's almost like the domineering elements of Libra are shown in that connection, like the fan to the flames. And Aries has a way of waking it up in Libra in a way that I don't think most people can. And I feel like they can almost create this level of shame around showing a part of them that they know very well how to hide in the closet.
Yeah, and you said it is, and Libra does get put in that box, but it's not unfair to point out because their lovers are also the ones putting them in that box, and people stop looking deep with Libra. They stop very surface level. And so to have an energy like Aries come in and piss you off a little bit and shake the table, sometimes it's like, well, okay, damn, like, hang on a second, like, this is getting to me in a way that it hasn't, and it kind of irritates me because you're disrupting my peace, but I'm into it. I'm intrigued by this because everyone else just treats me very placeholder trophy.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And I have been on such a severance binge. Are you watching it?
I'm not. I don't have Apple TV, but I'm seeing all the memes.
Okay.
And is there a little office romance happening? Is that where this...
Listen, you know I love it. With my Virgo energy, I'm like, just put on those little glasses, put the tie on.
Siren.
Yeah, I'm running away with the fantasy. Like, you have to do very little for me to get into my
They're
understanding.
sexy. They are. If you get a nice little like sheer tight going, like now we're talking.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
Okay, and speaking of a Scorpio that works for a Capricorn,
Oh, that's like power dynamics.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like the office siren meets CEO energy between the two of these. It's just, there's something lights out to me about power struggle dynamics, but someone who knows when to put the leash on and when to take it off. And I feel like these two, semi-unconventional, but I love the connection.
Yeah, I think people say they're unconventional because they're both so stubborn and like want it their way. But I also think the right partner knows how to kind of like unravel you in a very sexy way. And to know how to do that, you have to know what makes someone tick.
Mm-hmm.
And if, dare I say it, it's a little bit of like brat vibes, Scorpio. Sorry to say, I don't know, that's why we love them. But it's like, that's why it works. Like, you know, you think you're in charge, but you're not. But at the end of the day, they're like both pushing each other's buttons. So,
Girl, my Scorpio stellium in my 7th house loves nothing more than someone who's taking the lead, and I just consistently push back and give a little, no, you kind of
maybe. Yep.
Are there any star-crossed lovers that you feel like you've seen in the work that you've been doing, couples that it feels like the passion is there, but the capability of staying together long-term is hard, if not impossible?
I find zodiac signs that share a planetary ruler, I want them to work so badly. And the big one I always think is Taurus Libra. Like on paper, I'm like, you two should be married. You should be together in a big, beautiful Nancy Meyer house with like three kids, and they all do soccer. Like, I'm like, it should work. And sometimes it does.
Yeah.
I think with those two, it's difficult. I think Aries Scorpio might be my favorite of the planetary ruler sharers. But I think the planetary ruler sharers, it's like they're attracted to each other, but they're unsure of each other.
Yes, I can speak from firsthand experience, having dated on and off with a Gemini. So we share Mercury as our planetary ruler. And I mean, of course, A, it was on and off, but B, it just crashed and burned by the end of it. And I look back now and I thank the universal orchestration at play, because I would have just let that train wreck go for the rest of my life. It was so fun when it was fun, but the planetary ruler shared dynamic. So it'd be Gemini, Virgo. We have Saturn, Aquarius, with Capricorn. And then, like you were saying, Lauren, we have Venus with Taurus and Libra. Would you consider, are you of the mind of Pisces and Sagittarius? I feel like that's always the...
Yeah, with modern rulers, in my opinion, I like looking at both. But when it comes to synastry, I think the more impactful pairing is the personal planet pairing. So I do like to look at that because they do have both of Jupiter influence. And so I think there's so it's very expansive with those two. When it's good, it's amazing because it's working, but then it's like, where's the structure to catch you when it's not? And so it can be like one of those relationships where when you're too in it, all you can see is each other. Yes. And it's not till you're out of it that you're like, what was that fever dream?
Yeah.
What kind of spell did they put me under? What is this, honey? Like,
and it is a spell.
I do think that's Neptune too with Pisces. So
God, I know. That is truly the only one that I will like kind of vacillate back and forth between. Everyone else, I'm like, no, like Scorpio is definitely Martian. But Pisces with that elusive, dreamy escapism energy, I'm just like, you got me again. I don't know.
What are you doing?
Okay, so...
yours again.
Yeah, no, totally. Is there any kind of advice that you have out there as far as compatibility that you want to give to the listeners? Like thinking about all of these unconventional pairings that we talked about and we love to see, what do you suggest to people when they're looking between their chart and the chart of their crush?
Yeah. Well, I think the first and most important thing is that how your partner treats you is more important than any zodiac sign. So if you're in a good relationship and the stars are saying not your most compatible, hey, if you're having fun and they're treating you right, stick it out, see what happens. If you're looking at synastry, Venus, the moon is going to give you a lot of that romantic connection, that emotional stability, that sensuality. And then I think looking at your fifth house and your seventh house. Fifth house is the pleasure and the joy of relationships, and the seventh house is the structure and endurance.
Yeah.
So I think those are the keys. If I had to pick something else, Jupiter is always going to make something very nice.
Totally. I always say to heteronormative couples, like if you're the woman looking for a husband at some point, that Jupiter holds so many keys to that kind of fantastical, but also well-suited and luck-bringing positive male partner.
As the wrong partner in any sense can derail your life.
So I know if I could go back and tell my 15-year-old self anything, it would be just study things, not men. Study anything other than a man.
Yep. It's like, go read a book. Go read a book.
About a way better written trope than whatever you're living out in high school. Like, there's so much more to life, and I feel like the advice that you gave is so perfect. I also love to look at somebody's seventh house ruler and where it falls in their chart for how or when they're going to meet someone. Did that play any part in you and your partner finding each other?
My seventh house ruler is sad. It's like a Saturn energy. And so I met him later in life. But actually, I have my moon in the 11th house, and we have moon synastry, and we met through friends.
I love it. Even the fact that he's an Aquarius and your seventh house ruler is Saturn, I'm like, that's stunning information to me. I just think it's such a powerful thing to get more deeply invested into your chart and understanding, like, if someone has similar placements to you, Lauren, like if Saturn is playing some part in their seventh house, in their fifth house, as their seventh house ruler, to be okay with meeting someone when the timing is right. I also love to understand too, like, not looking for the sign specifically, but understanding the attributes of certain signs. So I just did an episode on your rising sign and then understanding your seventh house by having the opposition. Yes. But if you take away thinking, oh, my seventh house is ruled by Taurus, so that means that I have to find a Taurus or someone with Taurus placements, and instead look at the truth of, oh, maybe this person with heavy Leo energy is more keen to the finer things in life. They do put loyalty first. They have that Taurian influence that it's like we're looking outside of the black and white of thinking your sign has to go with this sign. And you're instead saying my chart and my heart are both telling me that I like someone that feels this way.
Definitely. I always tell people synastry is about looking at your shared strengths and weaknesses, and every couple is going to have them. So, like, yes, there are going to be certain aspects where it's like, well, I wouldn't marry him. But on the flip side, not every happily married couple is going to have perfect synastry. And even to that point, not everyone's looking for marriage, you know? Yes. So even understanding, like, are you someone who wants a more unconventional relationship? Do you want a long-term partner, but you don't want to be married? Like, knowing what you want through your chart can also help you. Because if you don't want a long-term monogamous relationship, your seventh house might not matter at all. Mm-hmm. So knowing what you want helps you know where to look for those very important connections.
I could not have said that better. I think part of what we've lost in the pursuit of just finding and feeling loved is the respect for the temporary nature of things. Understanding that temporary connections, a passing flirt, a kiss at the bar with a stranger while you're on vacation. It's like all of these things, if you're being open and honest and authentic while you are in the pursuit of finding or feeling something, it can be right without looking the same way as somebody else's dynamic or the dynamic that you thought you were supposed to have. I have had so much fun having you on and talking about all of these pairings. You are always such a well of insights and the perfect analogies and imagery-filled communication. To me, it's no wonder that you do so well with video content, with written content. You're just a perfect channel for not only astrological information, but so much information. So thank you for coming on and sharing, Lauren.
Thank you. This is what I love about podcasting too. This is obviously not my first episode with you on your many, many creative adventures. It's nice because I feel like you're such a gracious host, and I feel like you create a space where people can really let their strengths shine. So I really appreciate that about you. And thank you again for having me. I'll be back to bother you again, I'm sure.
Oh, girl, I would love to pick that big, beautiful brain whenever you're open to it. Could you tell listeners where they can find you and what you're working on?
Yes, so I work on astrology.com and horoscope.com professionally. And then on my creative passion side, I have my DREAMWEAVING Substack where I'm writing half-baked ideas, cosmic musings, and anything else in the cultural zeitgeist that interests me. So
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Lauren, and I'm sure we'll see you soon.